So we've got the data for results, and if I go back to my formatter and validator, if I open this up by pressing plus and then just shut things down again so that you can't see them, what I've got here is a list by the square bracket there and the square bracket there, and the list actually has only got one item, one dictionary item, but inside that there's lots more information. But this is a list, and we can index lists. We can, or an array if you want to call it an array. We can choose the first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one, the fifth one, and so on. But this has only got one item in its array. It's the first one, so that is the 0. Remember, we start arrays and lists from the 0 element. So if I want to talk about anything that appears inside this plus symbol, I've got to access the 0 dictionary in there. So I'm going to put that into my code and you'll see what I mean. So I've got results, and then I'm going to look at the 0th item, and from that I'm going to start pulling out further information. So if I open this up and sort of reduce these, there we go. If I get rid of the data for you, you can start seeing it. So in the 0 item, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different items and of different types. So address component is another list or an array. Formatted address is just a string, including the postcode, so that's nice. Geometry again is a dictionary by the curly braces with several items in it. Place ID, which we shall want to use for other APIs, is just a string, it's just data, and types again is an array consisting of more than one item. So what I really want to do here is get this formatted address, and I want to pull out that string 10 Downing Street, Westminster, London, so on, so on, so on. In my program, all I need to do now, because it isn't an array or anything else, I just need to include in square brackets the word formatted underscore address. Okay, and I am now pulling out this information here, 10 Downing Street, Westminster, so on. So if I save that and run the program again, hopefully I remembered to copy and paste properly. 10 Downing Street, there we go. Ooh, let's just close this down and start it up again. Downing Street. There we go. We've now pulled out the information. 10 Downing Street, Westminster, London, S1A 2AA in the UK. So we've got the full postcode for the address, and that is how to pull out information from the JSON. So let's briefly go back over it. What we did is we got an address from the user, and they could put any address in whatsoever, and I'll come back to that shortly. We then set up the actual web address. Now this is called an endpoint when we're talking about APIs. It's the address that we need to go to, and that is the endpoint there for everything up to the question mark. After the question mark, we've got some named value pairs, and the name is address, the value is this address which we got from the user. Then we used a library function called URL open, which goes and fetches a web page, and it fetched the web address. And that's all it did. It fetched a pointer to the web address for Python. But to get the information that appeared on the page, we had to read it. So .read read the information. So now in geocode URL we have a string, and that string is everything that appeared on the page, rather like this. Once we got that information on the page, it was good, but it wasn't good enough for us. We really need to sort of turn it into useful items like this, into JSON name value pairs, and we did that with a call to the JSON library, and we called the loads function, and we gave it the string of data we got earlier, and that converted it into a Python dictionary for us to use. Then we drilled down through the dictionary, and we used the JSON formatter and validator to help us. We could just use Python itself. There's no reason why we can't, but it is a lot easier if you use some sort of formatter and validator. So what we did, we set a variable called result to be the dictionary. Then we said the result at results, so we looked into this one, results here, and then we said the very first item on the list, well, there is only the one item. What we want to do is open that up and look for the formatted address, which was here, which had data. If we'd have chosen address components or geometry or types, then we'd have to start drilling down even further, because they are arrays or dictionaries. The only information that we can get at the present time at this level is the data. So we could have used formatted address here, or we could have used place ID, and I'll show you that in a second. If we wanted something further, if we wanted to drill down further, let's go into geometry. Let's say we wanted the latitude and longitude. Then inside there we've got a dictionary location, and inside there we've got a dictionary of 2 items. Let's have a look at the dictionary for geometry, which has got location, location type, viewport. It's got quite a few items in there. It's got one piece of data, being location type is approximate. The rest of it is either more dictionaries or arrays. So let's get the location, and inside that we've got 2 further names with lat and long, and then we've got data following it. So let's say I wanted the latitude for 10 Downing Street. I would have to drill down into that. So let's see how we could drill down into that. Let's have it side by side. So this time I don't want the formatted address, I want the geometry. So if I type in there geometry, so I've got this far, then I need location, and again we're not at data at the moment, so we need to put the square brackets and then put in the word location. Then we need the latitude, which again we're not at data yet, we're still on the, well, we are at data, but we still need to use square brackets for lat, the name, and then we will be printing out the data, which will be 51503365. So saving that and running it just to prove. 10 Downing Street, there we go, and we've got the latitude for 10 Downing Street. So we've got a method now of drilling down through everything to get the information and the data that we need, and that is why the JSON formatter and validator is a useful tool. Don't need it, but it is a useful tool. I said you could copy and paste information from a web page. This was okay because it's only a short amount or small piece of data. However, from time to time, the data that we get, it is huge, and there's a limit to how much we can actually put into this box. So we could also use the address. I'm going to copy the address, and we can paste that into, let's just close that down. We can paste the address of our call into this box and click process, and it will do the same thing. So we could either put the data in, or we could put the URL in. Either one will do nicely. For big data, it's probably better to actually use the URL. So we've now drilled down, we've got some useful information, we're beginning to talk to APIs. So in the next video we will continue.